Good evening, Glenn.
Hello, Treb. How are you?
Yes, I am doing very well this evening, and how are you doing in this day?
I'm very excited to speak with you.
Yes, and I am very excited to speak to you as well. I know that you have many questions, many ideas and concepts to share in this day, so whenever you are ready to begin, you may.
Thank you very much.
Yes!
I've made it a practice over maybe the past year. I try on a daily basis to get into a calm, quiet state, or when I have a feeling of unconditional love, to reach out with my heart and my mind and my soul to different entities, yourself included. I was wondering if you've been perceiving those types of things.
Yes, there are many times in which we have connected one portion of energy to another portion of energy. As the host is expressed in many terminologies to many entities, as we have expressed through speaking to all entities who have connected to us. When you are expanding yourself in that way, it is very similar to the concept of one entity in the middle of a room with several entities around them expanding outward as a balloon becoming inflated. And as the balloon becomes inflated, the idea of the entities that are in the room become closer to you and closer until it touches and then expands beyond them and touches other entities. And this is essentially what you are doing while you are expanding your consciousness, as well as while you are turning your heart's energy into a tool to connect and resonate with others. And in your journey and quest of doing this, we have connected many times. When I am connecting to any human that reaches out to my own energy, what I am doing is sending a small portion of consciousness to any entity who desires or places an intent to connect to me in any way, shape, or form. The amount of consciousness that I have connected to you with has been different in several occasions. There are many times in which we have connected, and it is on a very slight level. There are many times, especially in that of your sleep state, in which we have connected more directly.
Excellent. Is that the idea of, let's say, a lower density entity, one that is just flexing its muscles between like a third and fourth density state where if if I were to attach, for instance, in my own energy to the wholeness of Prime Creator, for instance, to all that is, the amount of energy would be too much congruity for a physical body, and it would obviously just evaporate in a moment. Is that the same type of idea where I can only attach to a portion of your energy because of your density state?
Yes, this is one concept that is very akin to the idea that we were expressing, but let us express this perhaps in a slightly different idea to add upon this idea that you have connected to and created in this moment. When an entity is expanding their consciousness, especially from the area of consciousness in which humanity deals with, we are not speaking of the density levels in the way that you are in between the third and fourth density, how you are directly in the fourth, but consciousness shifts from third to fourth. What we are speaking of is your DNA being multidimensional as it is. The capability of a human is to connect all the way to the end of physical existence to any entity that is within sixth density, and this is not given with all races. There are many races in which their own perception can only be stated in their specific realm of vibration, hence the concept of densities or ghost zones bridges between densities, but as they become expansive, they are able to breach one barrier past their vibrational level. Most often this is only into the ghost zone, but sometimes they are able to breach the smallest portions. Your capability is to connect to all densities if your desire is there, but with your expanded consciousness, again, as you have expressed, it is a smaller portion of energy pushing out as far as it can, and when this happens to a certain degree, if you are not aware of your capabilities or prowesses, or if you are not centered within your energy of expansion, your energy becomes slightly diluted as it pushes outwards, so you are giving less of your consciousness in that specific realm. If you are using volume, for instance, as an example, instead of being 1,000 units per milliliter, by the time it is diluted by the fifth density, where you would be able to connect to me, it is only 400 or 350 units per milliliter. So if you are looking at it in this way, this is one concept, but the secondary concept is that I, myself, as a fifth density entity, which do not follow suit as many other entities in fifth density or sixth density do, I am willing and able to separate my consciousness into much smaller parts, so what you are receiving is not the full extent of my own energy, neither is it when you are speaking to my own words through the host in this physical body, but as I am sending a very small portion of consciousness, let us say, for example, 1/32 of a percentage of my energy, as I would through intention or someone calling into my energy, I am connecting only this portion. So as this portion touches your diluted version, if you have expressed or expanded far enough, as they are touching, it is much less of a connection. Then the expression of now is I am giving perhaps 2 to 4% of my energy through the host energy, and you are giving 100% of yours as you are excited, as you are placed and focused within your concepts of questions and interactions. So all of these things combined together give us this wonderful co-creation of a much higher percentage of consciousness exchange.
That's a beautiful thing because all fractals can communicate, and then there's co-creation between all fractals, and that's basically the expression of all there is through all the fractals. It's Prem Creator basically expressing itself.
Yes, and let us express to you that the host is quite proud of himself in the way that he interprets this concept. When you were sharing with the collective in the evening of last, your Wednesday evening, the night before we are speaking in linear time, he expressed a concept that is very similar, that he is now exchanging the concept with me that he desires for you to hear. So if you are interested in listening to this concept, there is a great amount of expansion, but nothing beyond the scope in which you are already aware of or already understand. In the truth of the nature, no entity is not able to perceive and conceive the same concepts. It is just a different perception that leans them towards another way of seeing this idea.
Very good.
Yes, and very exciting as well.
It is. So this expression of my ability and humans' ability to be able to reach out to all density states up to the sixth density state, is that because of the human DNA and the seven sisters lending their different DNAs to humans, having us being able to have such a wide range of vibrational expression and so many connections with so many races?
Yes, this is very true. When you are seeing the 7 different races that lend their DNA, understanding that the 7 is truly a combination of 12, as you are perceiving 5 entities of the 7 being 50% hybrids, which equivalates to the concept of 10, and 2 races that are 100% of their own DNA are the equivalent to 12. Now you are seeing the 7 to 12 pattern within consciousness, 12 separate DNAs within human consciousness and DNA, as well as the own genes of your primitive ancestors you would perceive this to be. But now you are looking at this, but what many humans have not recognized, or have not remembered to recognize within themselves, is that even these 12 separate DNAs within 7 carriers, or 7 bodies, to give DNA from to equivalate outward to the 12. When they are perceiving this, they are seeing the exact numbers that we have shared and expressed. They are seeing that there are 7 entities with 12 different DNAs that lend, which is a part of the human experience. Therefore, humans have multi-dimensional DNA of 12 sorts, which gives them the ability to rise through all 3 harmonic levels within this universal matrix. But what they are not perceiving in the larger scale is that out of these numbers that we have expressed, there are literally thousands of separate DNAs that have been mingled, mixed, and exchanged to make the 7 carrier races, or the 7 sister races, as you would perceive this, which in turn became multiple thousands. So when you are seeing these numbers, the true representation of the Earth multi-dimensional DNA goes further than even 7 or 12.
Wow. So is this an expression of the idea? I've heard the idea of a planet called Eden, one that was the first planet that was the experiment for humanity in this universe from the founders or the seeders or the Anunnaki. Is this, I know the races that survived that went to other, because of the things that were happening in that galaxy, that they went to the Pleiades and to Sirius. And those offshoot races were the ones that lended their DNA to humanity, and then they're also offshoots to other races from there.
Yes, the concept that you are expressing, this Eden idea, is the first concept of humanity being expressed onto the Earth Collective. But when you are seeing the Earth history in whole, what many entities are playing with now through their ideas is seeing Lemurian energy, seeing Atlantean energy. These are, in their minds, 2 separate expressions of consciousness. But again, many entities in humanity are not aware of the very first inhabitants, which had nothing to do with the human overall experience, as they had left the planet and they took their own collective consciousness with them. So very little of the expressions of the original entities, known as the Kon-Ki, as Aridif is expressed, these entities, the Kon-Kis, are not a part of the essential beginning process, but every entity who has shared energy with Earth Collective, regardless of how traceable or perceivable it is, whether it is to the human collective or to an entity, from what your perception is, a higher perspective, or less restricted seeing, if you will, is still continuously able to find the energy imprint of all entities who have shared with the Earth Collective consciousness to be part of one energy. So as you are seeing the Earth Collective being, in your perception, the 4th race that has walked this planet, or the 4th group that has walked this planet, in fact, all of you are sharing your own energetic expression, because the Earth Collective consciousness is all connected to one portion of one cycle. When you are seeing the entities who lended their DNA, this is a multicultural concept. There are different entities who come in at different points in your history for different reasons. The very first that we have expressed is the Anunnaki, who is sharing their DNA with humanity to make them smarter, to make them more malleable as workers. After they are leaving, there are different entities who are coming in, seeing an injustice in their own mind of what was done to humanity, then giving some of their DNA, and after they are leaving, negative entities coming in and trying to reshape and format the DNA, as well as suppress certain energies of the higher multidimensional because their beliefs of it being dangerous, etc., etc. All of these races are coming in for different reasons at different points for different objectives. It is not so much one shared experiment or collective consciousness, although in the non-physical sense, or in the non-aware sense of the subconsciousness of the galactic collective consciousness, if you will, is most definitely connecting for this idea. How interesting, in the non-physical collective sense of the galactic consciousness, would it be to have a race who is multidimensional but not aware that they are multidimensional? And this is where the excitement comes from.
Yes, to go and explore different ideas.
Yes!
So this idea of Eden and Earth and then the incarnational trajectory within this, like Marduk and Mars, does my oversow expression, does it have incarnational paths within those, like within Eden and within those other incarnational paths?
Yes, let us express this has been something that has stumped humanity for very frequent times now that they are understanding the way and the mechanisms in which the Oversoul works. Many entities express, how am I able to be a part of an incarnation cycle that is strictly set for Earth energy standards? How am I to come into this Earth collective and then find portions of myself in Oversoul through different portions of consciousness, such as you have expressed the Marduk or the Mars or any energy that comes through in a different way, exoplanets, if you will, or even planetary consciousnesses within this galactic or solar system consciousness, if you will. As you have experienced all of these separate fractals, let us express to humanity, to help clear this haze, that if you are coming into the Earth incarnation cycle, this does not mean that you have not originated elsewhere, or that you have not crossed into your twin soul, from your oversoul to the twin soul, to be able to search further outward for parallel existences that are very similar. This is why, when you look at the future and past in a linear time, it tends to give a great haze to the overall perspective, because the entities that you are seeing as similar time, but ones from, let us say, Sirius, or ones that are from Arcturus, when you are looking at these entities, you perceive them as not a portion of the human collective consciousness, as segregated and separate entities, but in fact, if you were to break down the concept of linear time, they would be what would be a perceivable offshoot race of the human collective, which then comes back in a different portion of time to readjust the human DNA. So as you are seeing A, B, C, in fact it can be C, A, B, or B, A, C, or any variance of these three start and end points. So it's consciousness working itself through various routes in order to change a trajectory of consciousness, or just to extend an idea of what consciousness is. One moment, Aridif wishes to step forward for one moment. Good evening, Glenn. This is Aridif. That is Aridif, and this is it spelled. First of all, we wish to express our own gratitude for speaking to you in this evening, but we wish to help clear the surface for TReb Bor yit-NE in this one degree. What humans see in incarnation cycles, as TReb Bor yit-NE is expressed, is a going through time in a certain fashion. It is said that when you start an incarnation cycle, you are in the first instant, to the second, to the third, all the way through the sixth. But this is linear time. When you are experiencing and expressing yourself from the very beginning of consciousness, an entity may step out of the oversoul as a fully developed sixth density consciousness. As they are sixth density consciousness, they have zero limitations of time. After they have traversed the galactic consciousness, found a planetary consciousness that is fitting, grouped to a collective, they are all experiencing non-limitation. As they are doing this, they are going backwards in time, they are expressing their own consciousness by dividing themselves into fifth density entities. As this continues down, this is often the case where higher density entities are what starts the incarnation cycle if you see it linearly and continue downward to the first. Then they exchange energy, information, and collect and coalesce with one another in one moment to change the history of their own race or their own predecessor race. The way your linear time would see it would be a predecessor race in order to achieve different future projections. When they are going through different future projections, they are giving themselves the own sixth density entity who has changed their past or their own collective past in order to give themselves a new sixth density history. This is how the Oversoul gets many compilations of lives and experiences in one portion. It is not set into one, playing into the second, into three, into four. It is whatever the Oversoul desires, and sixth density, fifth density entities are much less bound to linear time or perception of time in the way that you see this as the first through third density, and even in the beginning of the fourth. Once you remove all things of how you feel that it is supposed to happen in an incarnation cycle, then, and only then, can you get a better perception and perspective of what it is to truly be in an incarnation cycle and express yourself multiple ways in one group experience. Thank you. Yes! We are back with you in this moment.
Thank you. Thank Arda for me for that was a very good explanation. Thank you.
Yes, you are very welcome. We have approximately 7 to 10 minutes that is left within the connection, so if there are questions that you feel are most relevant to the conversation at hand, or more important, in your own mind, you may place them in the beginning of the list so that it may be more useful for you.
Thank you. There is one. First, I would like to give you permission to be able to come into my energy as you freely, or you're freely. How should I put that? You're welcome to come into my energy anytime that you want and connect with me.
Yes, and this is a very exciting concept.
Because I want, there was the idea of that Rob had mentioned before that when he first came to see you, of a room, like a waiting room.
Yes!
And I've been picturing this in when I've actually been picturing you. Is that one of the better ways to build a conduit between us, or is there any other ways that could be?
There are many ways to connect from your own self to my own energy, and as you have given permission to connect more deeply, we will look into the energy pathway that is least resistant. But before we connect to this, there is one simple concept in which you can share. In using a mantra that the host is given to share with others, this is one of the greatest ways to build a rapport with the energy that we connect to. And as you begin to use this more frequently, the connection grows greater. Once you have used it long enough to build this bridge, then placing intent, feeling the energy of what words we have expressed and what we have shared, also looking into yourself as you hear the information, you will begin to see what is expressed as reading between the lines of the energy. The host has expressed that his dear friend, George, that is connected to him previously. He used to be what was called an encoder. All of the entities that are connected to their own selves to a high enough degree are able to encode the information. When I express a sentence, for example, I wish to walk a dog down to the street and have breeze flowing into my face and smile upon the sunshine. What this is one level of information that we are bringing forth, but the unspoken word and the energy behind this brings several more layers of understanding and downloads, if you will. Once you have built the bridge to be able to receive the encoded information that is within the verbal or energetic context that we are sharing, then we are able to build into the third portion, which is more deep connection. I have already achieved the second level of connection with you. I have also achieved the very beginning portion of the third, in where we are exchanging through sleep state, where you are able to perceive things that are more tangible to you within your physical existence in the astral projected or meditative state as you are expressing this waiting room. So if this waiting room concept is one that is very feeling resonant and greatly resonant to you, you may use this as a conduit. But if your permission is given, then I will connect your energy, and in one moment, perhaps I will find an exercise or perception that will be easier for us to connect to one another.
May I ask, instead of doing that, can we? I have an image that I had found that has been perplexing me, and I find great energy with. When you connect to my energy, can I look at that image? Can you maybe explain what that image is or what it's doing? Would that be okay?
Yes, I will not be able to tell you the physical attributes of this, but when you are looking at this, I can connect your energy and see what the energy is doing to your non-physical self, which will give me high indicators with high probable acceptance of what it is doing to you physically as well.
Very good, thank you.
Yes! One moment, please, and I will connect to this concept. You are well aware of how to push your energy outward as you are connecting, so as you do this, I will connect to you. One moment, please. Yes, let us express that in length and time, the longer that you are connected to this image, the more energy will flow through, as we have seen a projection of what you would call your highest probable future of how the energy continuously affects. What this energy is doing too is causing a circuit release within your own energetic system. There are often times when we have expressed that there are chakra circuits within human entities, ones and where the energy is not being sent directly connected, as if you are going through an electrical circuit that is being bypassed. And when this energy flows through your chakras, there are small circuits within almost every human that bypass certain portions of your minor chakras. What this energy is doing is helping remove the certain circuits so that energy will flow. There is a minor circuit that lies between your second and third chakra. There is one that is in the higher echelons of your second to third chakra as well, one between your fourth and fifth. And in these circuits that are being looped, minor circuits, not in the main chakras but between, while these are being bypassed, there is less energy that is going from your heart to the third eye, from your heart to the crown chakra. As you connect to this image more directly, it helps remove these bypasses temporarily. But what we can tell you is that if your desire is true to utilize this concept more deeply, to utilize this energy to your benefit and help remove these minor loopages more directly, to help you keep this as a temporary to a permanent concept, there is an exercise in which we can help you with. One question that we have for you: how aware are you of the energy that is between your second and third chakra when you are seeing this? Do you feel it flow?
It feels more blocked.
Yes! So it comes to a certain degree and feels as if it's stopping.
Something to that effect. Or it's intermittent.
Is this between from the second to third chakra or third to second chakra?
It depends on the time of the exercise. Sometimes it could be either.
Yes! The idea of chakras, first, this can be very helpful if you are a visual aspect entity who requires greater visualization assistance through this. The way that your chakra system works, when we see your energy, is from the heart center, is where it originates. But even before this, there is energy that you are taking in from the ground or earth energy. There is also energy that you are taking in from your crown. They are both going through your entire body, but they are not going through your chakras. They are going through them in a neutral way, so there is no energy that is essentially mixing with the chakras. And when it goes into the heart simultaneously, it redistributes them upwards and downwards simultaneously from your heart to your third and fifth, to your second and sixth, and to your seventh and first at the same time. And after it goes through and interacts with each individual chakra, then it releases energy from the first chakra back into the ground, and from your crown chakra into the grid. And when this is happening, the bypass is being caused within these smaller loops. But what you can do is, if you are feeling it going from your third to the second, it means it is being redistributed from your heart in that moment. If it is going upwards from second to third, it is coming from the ground in. If it is coming from the ground inward, so from your second to third, allow it to flow through into your heart chakra. And when it is being redistributed outward, allow the energy in a visualizative technique to use a upside down triangle that is blue, and on the bottom of this triangle there is a four-sided object. We believe that you would call this a trapezoid, and at this trapezoid it is inverted, and we understand the trapezoid encompasses a great amounts of shapes as long as they are unequal to that of a square or rectangle. But the one that we are speaking of is the one that the host has drawn within his own concept of what Aridif's language in a written way is. This is a very essential energy, and to use it also inverted. So use this in all of the chakras from your heart to third to second, and in between you are making smaller versions of this. The inverted triangle is on top of the inverted trapezoid, and in the triangle the color is that of the indigo nature, and the one below this, the trapezoid that is inverted, is green. If you are able to use these colors in every main chakra and in between every main chakra where you are feeling resistance, while you are using this place and intent to reset your circuits and allow flow to be more clear, and this will help you very greatly. What we can also suggest is a cleansing technique that is very useful for many humans who have visualizator prowesses and who are also very highly attuned to the concept of clearing chakras. When you are breathing through this exercise, imagine that you are breathing in a light color, or the best in our perception is colorless, perhaps white in your perception, light into the nose, and breathing it down into your heart chakra and redistributing it outward simultaneously out of your crown and out. And as it goes into your heart and pushes out, it is taking along some of the colorations and clogs that are within. If you are able to visualize that as you are visualizing all of the chakra points and the center chakra points, with the inverted triangle as indigo and your inverted trapezoid is green in between and during all the chakras, this will truly help your minor circuits be removed and help your energy flow more directly. When you are using this in sync with looking into this specific visual aid that you have that is in front of you, it can truly help the energy move in a better way.
Lovely. I like to add that that image is actually an image that's found in the Great Pyramid of Giza behind a hidden door, and it's a fractal of different entities.
Yes, and this is a very exciting concept. We are not sure of the nature of the look of this. The host was well aware that this existed when speaking to you at one point, but he was never able to lock into that more directly. But as his attention will be gained by listening to this concept and listening to our interaction, his excitement will draw him directly to this idea.
Thank you so much for. I don't want to run too far over. I know Rob has some things to tend to. I don't know if our time is up.
Yes, this would be the last question for the evening, but before we disconnect, I wish to express the concept that it has been of greatest excitement for myself to interact with you in this way, and by doing this it allows my own self to experience a portion of consciousness in which I was never able to experience before. Even though we have connected many times throughout our journey, throughout our connection, each time a new idea or new energy is introduced to the exchange into our own co-creative sphere, then what is able to happen is myself as well as yourself, via reflection from one another, are experiencing and expanding into portions of our mind, heart, physical and energetic complexes that we were never able to, which gives us both the opportunity to expand and grow simultaneously. And for me, this is very exciting.
Very, very exciting. Thank you very much, Treb.
Yes, you are very welcome, and thank you as well. Good night.
Good night. Much love to you.
Yes.